You're listening to iCannabisRadio.com.
All right, and welcome back to In the Lab with Genifer. Unfortunately, my co-host Tamar was under the gun for some things, so she couldn't be here today. But I have my very special guest and business partner and good friend, Steve Kilts.
Hi.
Thanks
for finally inviting me on, Jennifer. It's about time.
I know. I'm so sad. I'm like, oh my God, you got to come on and talk to people and say that there's not only me, but you as well. So we'll kind of talk about Steve's cannabis journey and how he came to CannLabs. Well, I guess not a cannabis journey, but we'll talk about that in a second. But I just wanted to start off with 2 men suffer burns and explosion while making marijuana oil. Can you believe it? Only a gazillion people are blowing themselves up because of butane. It's awesome. And this is exactly why people shouldn't use any solvents like that without being in an appropriate place to do it, because you never know what's going to happen. This happened in California, unfortunately, in a garage, and they did not die, thank God. They just suffered massive burns. But I just don't understand when people, I guess these people just think it could never happen to you. I'm just not sure. But it's kind of crazy.
You think by now people would stop doing that on their own. I mean, you really have to know what you're doing when you're messing with those types of hydrocarbons and things like that. It's
I know.
Very, very dangerous.
But, I don't know if they just think it'll never happen to them or they know how to do it right. And, again, another thing along those same lines is these cans that you buy in a hardware store or wherever are to fill your butane lighters. They're not to be turned upside down with all the contaminants and everything and be pushed inside a flower. It's just not, until we have clear evidence that that's not hurting people, which there's actually evidence to the contrary. And in fact, I hope to have her on. But a young lady that actually does make hash herself, and she almost died, which she attributes to an over exposure to butane. So we're going to have her on hopefully next week. But unfortunately, there's really nowhere. So on our lab reports, because we do residual solvent testing in parts per million, we'll give you that. But the only thing really to compare it to is the OSHA standards. And OSHA standards come from manufacturing facilities of being around butane. We really don't have, studies or anything, of course, because who's going to volunteer to just start ingesting some butane? I don't know about you, but I don't think very many people are going to vote for that. The good news is we are testing residual solvents for the 710 cup. For you out there that don't know what the 710 cup is it is a, it's kind of, I don't even know how to explain it, but it's a get together this weekend, and there'll be amazing glass and concentrates and, shirts and hats and education and everything. And they have a contest for concentrates for smoking and concentrates for edibles. And I'm so happy that we've evolved now into these contests that I am testing for residual solvents. And they immediately get disqualified if their sample's dirty, which is awesome because before we weren't even, I mean, this wasn't even talked about. So we are moving forward, which is great. The bad news is I poked my head in the lab earlier, and there are some really dirty samples already, and several. So that's very disheartening. In fact, one sample has 5 times the amount of, I think this solvent was, I think it was ethanol or isopropyl alcohol. I can't remember, but 5 times the amount. It's disgusting. So I'm really happy that they're disqualifying these candidates. So we'll find out more about that. I think there's going to be 74 entries that we're testing for. And I don't know when they are going to, I don't know all the ins and outs, but I don't know when they're going to give the awards or whatever. But we don't know who these people are either. They came to the lab completely anonymous, 1 through 74. So not to throw anyone under the bus, but I hope that the 710 cup gets back to these people and lets them know, listen, your sample was really dirty. Why don't, let us help you clean it up, or let us put you in touch with somebody to clean it up. There are plenty of people out there that do an amazing job making hash. So I might want to hook up with some of those. The problem is everyone thinks they're the best grower and everyone thinks they're the best hash maker. So for anyone to really ask for help, that would be great. Just because, we're a lab, but we can always learn new stuff, right? But we are the best lab.
Yeah. I mean, in their defense, too, residual solvent testing hasn't been available to these types of products before. So there are people out there that are responsible manufacturers, but just haven't had access to the testing and don't realize they're doing something wrong. So the good ones out there are going to change their process when they find out. So it's a really exciting new test for us, because I think there are people out there ingesting these types of products and not realizing what's in it and how dangerous it is.
Definitely. No, I definitely. And, that's up to us to provide education on that. Another exciting thing is CannLabs is rolling out microbials. Yay! We're doing plant or plate counts. So, before we did a visual inspection and everything, but now we can actually run plates for E. coli, salmonella, total aerobic, molds, fungus, black mold. We can do all these. And I suggest that you should not wait until 2014 to run some of these tests. Back 3 years ago, when Full Spectrum was doing these tests, you can imagine how many people were testing then, maybe 0.5%. And out of those people, 25% were dirty samples. E. coli, salmonella, all kinds of molds and fungus. So I would hate for everyone out there in Colorado that are growing to wait until January and then you have to cut down your entire crop. That would really be terrible. So get to testing those early, and if they do come up dirty, there are plenty of ways to fix it. I can give you some examples on why it might go dirty. Fertilizer. A lot of fertilizer has poop in it, and that carries E. coli. So, when they're spraying it on the plants and stuff like that, it can, turn your plants dirty. Also, not washing your hands. If your trimmers or whoever is not washing their hands. And people don't understand how quickly you can completely dirty your crop. It's just crazy. But also, I can give you another example that somebody shared with me that had it tested a few years ago. Their neighbor was a bakery. And what had happened is the air ducts, air vents weren't cleaned out, and it was just pouring mold spores into their grow. And that came from the bakery. So really, you should definitely check all your ductwork and everything and make sure, who your neighbors are. And if you do share ductwork, maybe they'll go in on a cleaning. But I'll tell you what, that's going to be far less expensive than if you have to completely tear down an entire room of plants. And the rules aren't out yet of how they're going to handle it, but I can tell you that we had a customer purposely bring in a dirty sample of trim that he made water hash out of it. And the mold and E. coli and everything spread from the trim, of course, to the water hash. None of it died. Now, when they burned it, it took a lot of them away, but there were still remnants of all of that stuff. So just simply burning, is not going to take care of it all. Plus, think about it. When you suck on a joint or something, there's other stuff that can go right in there that it's not even burning, spores and stuff. So you really got to be careful on all of that kind of stuff. So hopefully we have some people that come and submit some samples to us, and so we can get them all set up. Those samples are going to cost $80, but we're doing something pretty cool where if you pay for X amount of tests per month, that you can use those on any type of test. So if you pay for 10 tests a month, you can use them on potency, solvent, and the tier 1 microbials. There's also tier 2 microbials, but you'll have to pay a little extra because it's like 7 to 8 plates that we have to run and everything. So we would be losing money if we took less than, the package price. So anyway, enough about that stuff. What I was going to talk to, actually, how long do we have till break? 4 minutes? Okay. So I wanted Steve to come on to talk about his thoughts on cannabis and everything and how he grew up and his family and everything to the point of when we met and everything. So why don't you kind of tell your background?
Well, I'm not a particularly interesting person, so I'm not going to tell my life story and bore
well,
everybody.
no, but the views on marijuana.
Right, yeah. So where I come from, I grew up in Minnesota. It's been illegal there. It continues to be illegal there. It was never really a topic for me. I came from a pretty conservative family. I never used marijuana. I never even hung out with people that use it. As far as I was concerned, I believed everything that was generally accepted over there about it kills brain cells, it makes you stupid, it makes you lazy, it's a gateway drug to harder things, that sort of thing. And I moved to Colorado about 5 years ago, and I noticed there was a medical marijuana industry. And at first, I was completely against it. I had never used marijuana, and I thought it was a complete joke. I said, okay, you get high to forget that you're in pain or something. That's just kind of dumb. I think it's a contrivance, and for some people, they use it that way. But it was just a couple years ago I met Jennifer, and she started educating me a little bit on some of the science, and we became good friends. And I started looking into it, and I started researching the biology and the chemistry, and started reading about some of these doctors that are actually prescribing it. It goes far beyond, I realized that it went far beyond, pain relief and that sort of thing. In this past year, there's been a lot of breakthroughs with regards to epilepsy, severe epileptic kids and things like that. And there is still a lack of good scientific studies, but there is very strong anecdotal evidence for a lot of this stuff. And I started looking at that. I said, well, this is really interesting. Even taking a look at the way the cannabinoids themselves interact with the receptors in your body and in your brain and that sort of thing, I came to realize that a lot of the things that I understood about or thought I understood about marijuana, I didn't. Just the way that, even just the way, and I'm sure you've discussed this on the show before, but, even just the way the cannabinoids fill up receptors and that sort of thing, that cannot cause fatalities. When your receptors fill up with cannabinoids, you might feel like you're going to die, but it's not going to kill you. So, and you look at behavioral patterns with people on marijuana versus alcohol and that sort of thing. And I came to realize that not only are there really interesting medical benefits, but even as a recreational drug, it's less bad than alcohol and a lot of other things that you might use. And so coming from the standpoint of being against it, I just looked at it completely from a scientific standpoint. I looked at studies and I became convinced that, there's something to this. And both from a medical side and also even from a recreational side, like I said, not being as dangerous as a lot of other things that are legal. I'm now, working on CannLabs, trying to help bring legitimacy to the industry and health and safety, and that sort of thing. And even though I'm in the industry, I'm still open to the idea that there may be, potential bad side effects that science will discover when studies are done. But that's the important thing, is that studies are done, and that, I think, is the most frustrating part about this entire industry and the whole marijuana topic, is the fact that studies are not allowed to be done, because you can't create policy until you understand the facts and you understand the science. But
exactly.
I think we need to take a break here. So
we do. We'll take a break and we'll be right back. Blue Sage Microbes unveils the ultimate in superior soil, Ideal Soil, a 16-quart bag of the best growing soil ever engineered. Superior plant health and vitality is a direct result of the structure and chemistry of your soil. How good is your growing soil? Is your growing soil really balanced? How do you know? Well, Blue Sage Microbes has a newly designed growing soil that is the most advanced growing medium ever offered for cannabis cultivation. This is the only brand in the marketplace that provides growers with an ideal soil structure designed to work specifically with their cultivation systems. You will have your best grow results ever. Call now for a special introductory offer, 888-959-8551, or log on to bluesagemicrobes.com and experience a new level in growing. That's 888-959-8551.
Call Canisher at 1-800-420-5757 for all your insurance needs. Canisher understands the risks you face each day, and we are there to protect your business and your investment. Since 2010, Canisher has been serving the cannabis industry nationwide. Call Canisher at 1-800-420-5757 or visit us on the web at canisher.com to learn more about our insurance and risk management services. Proud member of the NCIA.
I'm Gary Johnson, and you're listening to iCannabis Radio, and I want to say, talk it up, Colorado.
Wow. Chris gave me loads of time there. All right, and we're back. Actually, my computer had a little power problem, but we're all good. So, Steve, you were saying that...
Yeah, so what I was saying, without I don't want to go off in too many tangents here, but just my perception on the industry is that whether you agree and support cannabis legalization or not, I think that pretty much everybody can agree that science should be allowed to continue because it's science. And we talk to faculty members and professors and researchers at different universities, accredited universities, that are not allowed or afraid. They're afraid to do research on this for a number of reasons. And I think that's completely crazy. And I think that most people would agree with that, because you really can't make decisions until you have the science. You've run the studies and you know the facts. And then once you know the facts, then you can create policy around that. And right now the policies have been created around not knowing anything and people making assumptions and making things up and believing what they hear. So that's the thing that I'm a big believer in. I think that's probably the most important issue when it comes to marijuana and cannabis in general, is to allow the science to take place by medical professionals and researchers, and once we have the facts, then we can make the decisions. And I consider myself a pretty open-minded person. I changed my mind on cannabis when I saw the data that was out there, and I would be willing to change my mind again if the science told me to do so. Neil deGrasse Tyson is famous for saying that the great thing about science is that it's true whether you believe it or not. Mm-hmm. And it's also true whether you like it or not. So even if we're in the industry and we find out that science tells us there's real downsides, then we just have to understand that and create policy around that. So. Right.
I think the last thing that I was sent was, I think, from my dad or something, and he's pro marijuana, but it was a study that was about how cannabis is increasing schizophrenia and mental illnesses, and when you read all the stuff, it's like you can go to a study and it can tell you the complete opposite of that. So it's just, you never know. And unless, unfortunately, anecdotally and stuff like that, people can, show things to prove their side, over other sides. But all I know is even for as simple as, and I know you don't get these, Steve, but menstrual cramps. I used to spend one day doubled over in high school. My cramps were so bad. And cannabis, it relaxes your muscles, everything. So you don't have to pop a bunch of pills. Actually, you have to pop several pills because not one pill, takes care of everything. But as simple as that. And now they're looking at bladder cancer, bone cancer. I'm looking at this. I'm trying to pull up some new things on cancer or some other things. Like, what were we talking about last week that your cousin has? Crohn's disease. That's right. And it's huge with Crohn's disease. And if you have somebody or yourself that suffers from Crohn's disease and that can't be cured, why wouldn't you try something that you can't die from? It's completely retarded. Mm-hmm. But I'm trying to look up here. So anyway, when I met Steve, he tells you the complete short of it. But when I met Steve, we were we were coming to look at the building we're currently in to do a lab space. And he had an office right up front for his last company and just started talking. And what was great about Steve, though, which is not great with everyone, is the open-mindedness. He did not judge. I had no idea what his background was at the time. I just spoke about cannabis like I always do and very passionate about it and very knowledgeable. And, I had no idea that he had never or anything. And, I'm just happy that it just starts with a conversation talking to somebody about it. That's it. So, just remember that. I remember back when I was afraid when I first opened up this business and I was afraid about what people would think and all of that stuff. But when it came down to it, I had to choose. This is, my passion. This is what I'm doing, and I'm not ashamed of it. And so, I came out, if you will, on Facebook and everything, and everyone was great about it. Even for people that don't believe in it, they still were, great. And I truly believe that all the people that we talked to made a difference, especially for the election. For legalization, because I must have talked to, and on CannLabs business cards, on the back of them, it says quick facts, and it just talks about how you can't die from it. There's several ways to administer it, blah, blah, blah. And people love that because they don't know those things. They're completely clueless. So the more we can just talk to people about it and get them to see the other side of it instead of the stoner culture, things will be better. And now you're my business partner. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. People don't change their minds very quickly, typically, especially on hot topics. I don't try to convince people of, when it comes to religion and politics and gun control and any of these hot topics, cannabis being one of them. But if you keep doing the right thing, like in our company, we're trying to do the right thing and educating people. And then when their hearts are open to allowing their minds to change, then eventually they change. And I think I've seen that over the last couple of years since I've been in the industry, is that people are learning and gradually they come to accept it for what it is.
Right. Which, that's all we want. It's like, it is what it is. And I know that there are a lot of people out there that, because they always tell me, well, it's not for, it's not the cure all. And no, it's not. But I definitely think that it couldn't hurt to juice, the leaves and stuff like that, which are not going to feel the euphoria because there's barely any, if any, THC in the plant. It's actually THC acid. And THC acid has different benefits than THC does. So what's also exciting is we'll be testing for 9 cannabinoids very soon. We're adding on CBG, CBG acid, THCV, and CBC. So those CBC and CBG have some amazing benefits as well. I mean, every cannabinoid has their certain things, but again, it's about them all working together. That's why they work together. What do you think was the biggest fallacy that you had been fed for, propaganda about cannabis?
About cannabis?
Yeah.
I think probably just the overall danger of it. Like I said, I grew up believing, I think a lot of people, from the Midwest or the Deep South or areas where it's not legal and it's not talked about, they hold these beliefs that it's, like I said, it's going to kill brain cells. It's going to lead to harder drugs and things like that. And it's a dangerous chemical. And like anything else, it can be a dangerous chemical. I mean, if you consume this and hop in your car, you could be dangerous. But like a lot of other things, you have to be responsible about it, just like with alcohol and prescription drugs and things like that. And it is possible to be a responsible user. And the number of people that do use it in a balanced way in this state is huge. I meet so many people that do it, and most people don't talk about it because it still has that negative stigma attached to it. But there's an enormous number of professionals, very successful people, doctors, attorneys, engineers, all kinds of business people that use it, and they use it in private, but they use it in a balanced way, and they're not unhealthy about it. So I think that's the biggest fallacy that I realized, and it's kind of upsetting. And that's why I said what it comes back to is the real research. And I think once the real research starts to happen, I think it is starting to happen now. We're talking to faculty members at a few select universities that are looking at seriously doing some studies. And I think once the studies come from accredited universities, and I think that's going to further propagate that information and is going to help convince people one way or another. So.
Right. Well, and at least then we can get more detailed about it. Because right now, you can talk about kind of which strains you like. But again, you don't even know if that's really the strain that you're getting. I mean, there's no way to tell really. And again, every time somebody grows that strain, regardless of whether it's the same grower or not, it's still going to be a little bit different. That's why it's very important to, especially for the medicinal part, to look for the ratios of these cannabinoids. That way, it doesn't matter about the strain. You can still pick the ratio. If the strain per se that you don't like or that you like is not available, you can go to another strain. But it'll also be very exciting when we can do terpene tests because, terpenes have medicinal factors too. And they work together with the cannabinoids to have the overall. So it'll be very interesting when you can do target studies, know exactly how much you're taking, exactly of what ratio, exactly how many times a day. And so we can get to a point where, you have glaucoma. Yeah, here's what you need. Instead of, glaucoma, you need something with high THC in it. Because, that's pretty much all you can say. Now, THCV, as I've probably said 100 times, is an appetite suppressant. So it'll be good for people like me that don't need my appetite increased. I also believe it could be good for people that eat a lot. I mean, who knows? If it acts like a Hoodia, which is a natural supplement that brings down your hunger, what if you could juice some THCV in the morning? I'd be good doing that. So there's just so much that we don't know, and I can't wait for them to discover new cannabinoids. And what if it happens here, like you said, at the universities? I mean, it's all just so exciting. What's very interesting too is now Now people want to test their hemp oil. So I'm getting sent some samples from back east in New Hampshire because they're starting to make stuff with hemp oil and they want to know if it has CBD in it. So it's pretty exciting. Plus, we want to get it. We would love to get into specialized hemp testing because there's going to be a lot of hemp grown here, and talk about, soil remediation and how it can completely clean up the soil. So did you know that? So hemp, you plant it, it completely sucks up all the bad things. It's amazing. Like, who does that? Yeah. Hemp. It does everything. It's just amazing. So I can't wait until, they start. And I think they just started planting hemp here. They did? Anyway, we need to take a break and we'll be right back.
CannPunch is a delicious and effective medical marijuana beverage proudly made right here in Colorado. Each bottle is freshly infused with 100% pure flower extract from the highest grade marijuana plants available today. Using proprietary extraction methods, every bottle of CannPunch is consistently and reliably infused with an exact milligram dosage that you can count on to relieve your symptoms each and every time. CannPunch is delicious. There's never any medicine-y taste. We use only 100% cannabis flowers. No trim or byproducts are ever used in CannPunch. It does not require refrigeration and comes in convenient, resealable multi-dose bottles from 60 milligrams to 200 milligrams. We have drinks with dosage that works best for you. CannPunch is available in a variety of delicious flavors like black cherry, watermelon, pineapple mango, and blue raspberry. And we now have strain-specific beverages available just for you. CannPunch is delicious, convenient, consistent, and effective. Give it a try and experience the CannPunch difference.
Tired of dispensary hopping? Trying to find quality meds? Look no further and get to know Greenworks. Our shops are stocked with over 20 strains of organically grown meds, including R4, the highest tested CBD strain in Colorado. Yes, we back up our quality with testing. While Greenworks offers only the highest quality meds, we don't believe in high prices, with eighths ranging from $20 to $40 and ounces capped at $175. With 2 centers in Denver and 1 in Glenwood Springs, we're likely closer than you think. Call 303-647-5210 to find the location nearest you.
Green Faith Ministry is for spiritual guidance, MMJ information, and networking combined with compassionate care on the way to enlightenment with all Green Faith sacraments. Green Faith provides charity assistance, including medical and food throughout the year. Contact them at greenfaithministry.com.
And we're back. It is kind of a mellow day here. I feel very mellow, and Steve is mellow. This is me. This is Steve. He tries to weave in and out of my.
I don't need cannabis to be chill. I just am.
You don't. Yeah, I know. I do. Just kidding. Okay, so what were you saying? Oh my God, I can't even remember.
There's something I wanted to mention too. I think that, like with the introduction of residual solvent testing that we're doing for edibles and extracted products like that, I think that I feel like edibles are kind of the future of the safe side of cannabis, the safe usage. I'm not a health nut, but I'm fairly health conscious, and I don't believe, frankly, that breathing in smoke is good for you. Breathing in plant material, any kind of smoke, is necessarily good for you. And it's debatable, how bad that necessarily is. But for myself, I definitely choose a properly dosed, clean, as in residual solvent free edible. And if it's dosed properly, I think that's probably the best way to take it because you're not breathing in all that plant material and other things like that. And
right. Right.
Yeah.
And I think those, and we'll have to see, but a lot of times people do different solvent extraction because different solvents pull different terpenes. So right. We'll find out, okay, if we, I'd love to take the same material, extract it with butane, CO2, water, right. Show the pictures, have somebody use it all and kind of talk about it. Because that's huge too. Also, some of the big questions are, can E. coli molds and mildews transfer from trim to the concentrate? Well, clearly in water hash, yes. I don't know about butane or hexane or all of those. CO2 is supposed to clean it because all the high pressure cleans it. But again, we'll definitely, I want to do that as well. Take the same trim, have it extracted by those different things, and then do the plate counts and stuff like that. Because it's very important, and frankly, we just don't know, and we all want to, talk about, well, I heard and somebody told me, and, most times those are absolutely inaccurate. So we want to be giving out good information. And since, it's going to be legal here, or is legal, but will be completely legal in 2014, we'll be able to do a lot more than we have been, because some of the rules were, you couldn't give away, plant matter and this and that. Now I can take up to 2 ounces with my red card. I can take up to an ounce. You can take up to, anyone over 21 can take an ounce. Or be given an ounce. So now some of these growers can give us the product so we can do some of these tests, because I think it's really, really important. And if you have dirty trim, it's going to be very important for you to know, because if you can, you'll probably have to sell it at a discounted rate, but if like CO2 extraction and some of the other ones take care of all the mold, then obviously you want to save, or you want to capture as much money as you can. So maybe that's an alternative for you, for some people that have dirty trim. But again, what you put in, you get out. And that's another thing people don't understand is the yields and everything like that have to do with how good is your trim, or if you're using flowers. Obviously, if you use flowers and stuff, you're going to get more yield, and usually it's stronger than the trim. So yeah, I do too. I think edibles the future, and I think that quick absorbing right away. I think that is why people smoke, because it gives you an immediate effect, immediate pain relief, whatever it is, immediate, anti-nausea. And unfortunately with edibles, it's totally different. First of all, you feel different. It lasts a lot longer, and it takes a lot longer to hit you. So if we can, get something that can onset within 5 minutes or something, which I think people are working on, sublingual patches, whatever it is, that's when that's going to be a huge market. Because just taking oil, like literally just putting some in my mouth, it tastes disgusting, but it's actually my favorite, to skip all the edibles and everything and just eat the oil. But it takes a lot longer, first of all, because it's not attached to any fat and stuff to get absorbed. So it takes like an hour and a half, but it does last, and it's not too intense either. But I guess that's because mine was dosed.
Well, the one objection everybody that I talk to seems to have about edibles is they have had a bad experience with edibles. Mm-hmm. They say, well, I ate this thing, this candy, this brownie, this cookie, this whatever, and I was messed up for days or something like that. And I've heard that so many times. And really, that all comes down to dosing, proper dosing and potency. And that's the potency testing that we do, not to shamelessly plug our company, but that's really what it comes down to. And even now in Colorado, a lot of the labels that say they have a certain amount of dose are inaccurate. And I think that as the industry matures a little bit and the laws mature a little bit, that's going to get more and more accurate, and it's going to be easier to dose. So you can take something knowing exactly how you're going to feel an hour from then and exactly when you're going to recover. I know myself, I only take very select edibles. There's 2 products really that I take that we test for them constantly. And they're
Mountain High Suckers.
And Cannapunch, both.
And because both have some CBD.
And they both, we test both on a regular basis, and we know that they're, clean, good products. And there's a lot of other good products out there. Those are the 2 I choose myself. But, I know exactly how much to take, what the dose is, and I know exactly how I'm going to feel an hour from then and exactly how I'm going to feel in the morning. And it's consistent, and that's what I stick with. I wouldn't touch anything that, honestly, we don't test because I don't know how I'm going to feel, and I don't know what the consistency is going to be.
Right. And if you over-medicate, you're going to feel like you're dying. It's nasty. So Mountain High Suckers and Cannapunch. And again, we're talking about the ratios. And Steve really doesn't like products that don't have any CBD in it. You like about a 2 to 3.
Well, that's another really interesting thing is that, you've got these different cannabinoids, and you can't really filter out one cannabinoid and say exactly what it's going to do, because it's about how it reacts with other chemicals in the product, right? Mm-hmm. So THC might make you feel one way, CBD might make you feel another way. But I'll tell you what, the ratio of the two makes you feel a completely different way. And that's the other thing about these products is they have approximately the ratio that I like to help me sleep.
Yep.
And that's another thing is experimenting not only with levels but also ratios of these different chemicals. Mm-hmm. And that's a really interesting thing. And there's so much research and study has yet to be done. But even for each individual, because everybody reacts differently, it's about playing around with these different ratios and finding out what works for you, depending on what you're trying to get out of it. For me, I only use it to sleep at night. So I know the ratio, I know the dose, I want it clean, and then it works every time.
Yep. And me, I really do like the Mountain High Suckers. I do. I mean, it's great. And it's great because the pieces, the candy pieces, you can take, I know how many I need to take, I know exactly how many. It's not a guessing game. And then they also have what they call Colorado powder, which is their recipes grinded down, so it's like a powder. And that tends to be, well, you don't like that because it tends to be like a 3 to 3, I think, and you like 2 to 3. 2 milligrams of CBD for every 3 of THC, and I think this one's maybe 2 to 4 or something. But I love it. Good job, guys. I love it. And then Canna Punch, it's very interesting. So what I would like to see when people say that their hash is good, well, maybe it's good because they have a chemical high of the residual solvents in there too. Because from what I understand, there are some people that have completely felt different with different hashes, and not a high, but a chemical high, like a solvent high.
Not from that product.
Right. So Canna Punch is no. He does not use that. And theirs is totally clean. And in fact, the high you get with Canna Punch is it's a giddy. It's like a giddiness, like you're giggly. I notice that, and I don't really notice mind body unless I really think about it. But Canna Punch always, if I have friends that I'm going to go out with and we're going to do it recreationally, that's one of the things that I bring, like 4th of July, because you can just take one little sip, because it's 200 milligrams, at least the one I brought, 200 milligrams, a little sip, and it's like, pow. But all these people at the party, oh my God, they probably would have slammed one bottle, each of them. So I had to explain things to them, and they totally got it. And they're like, wow, thanks. I didn't realize it. Because, it's punch. You can't taste anything in it. And 200 milligrams to somebody, especially outside the industry, they don't know what that means. They cannot relate to that. So anyway, let's just say we giggled.
It's a lot like, again, you compare it to hard alcohol. You wouldn't drink a whole bottle of tequila, hopefully. You might take a shot of it to get a little bit of a buzz. You drink a whole bottle of whiskey or any type of hard alcohol.
You're dead.
And you can't do something like that and then say, well, I don't touch whiskey because last time I drank a whole bottle of it, it missed me.
That's true.
You're not supposed to.
Right.
That, again, comes back to proper dosing.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true. But, and how many of us have probably almost died from alcohol poisoning because of that? Me, I know the first time I drank tequila, I almost died. Very bad. Very bad. My mom came home from the Bronco game, and I had throw up all over me from head to toe. She was going to take me to the hospital. My girlfriend showed her how much I drank of the tequila, and but I was hungover for like 3 days, and that was nasty. Oh, it's just ugly. And, over medicating on marijuana can make you feel just the same. You're throwing up, but at least you can't die from it. Alcohol, totally different. But how about the parties where you buy, oh my God, Everclear, those punch parties where you cannot, like, Everclear is just nasty because they throw in so much fruit juice and punch, and the next thing you know, the room's spinning because you can't. Ugh. The room's spinning now. Anyway, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
Independent Records and Videos has been your locally owned and operated choice for music, movies, and lifestyle accessories since 1978. Independent Records and Videos has 7 locations from Denver to Colorado Springs to Pueblo to serve your entertainment needs. Whether it's vinyl, CDs, DVDs, books, smoking accessories, or hundreds of other fun and fanciful items, Independent is ready and waiting to make your dreams come true. We are always buying, selling, and trading vinyl, CDs, books, and DVDs, so sell yours and buy ours. Independent Records and Videos, your entertainment headquarters. Check us out at beindependent.com or on Facebook.
iVita Wellness is committed to compassionate patient care while providing the highest quality medicine at an affordable price. At iVita Wellness, patients can get top shelf ounces for $150 every day. iVita Wellness also carries pharmaceutical grade pure CO2 oil. iVita Wellness is located in Uptown Denver on 1616 Pearl Street. Open 7 days a week from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. You can reach us at 303-952-9150 or our website at www.ivitawellness.com. iVita Wellness is Denver's Compassionate Care Center.
The National Cannabis Industry Association would like to thank its members who represent the leading professional businesses in America's emerging legal cannabis market. NCIA is the only organization that has unified legitimate cannabis business across the nation to fight for real reform in Washington, D.C. For more information or to make your business a member, visit us online at thecannabisindustry.org.
All right. And we're back. So, how come it's very interesting. So when you talk to people about cannabis, right? Like, were you thinking, well, why don't you try Marinol? Like, because you know Marinol, right?
Yeah, I know about it now.
Yeah.
I didn't know about it.
Oh, you didn't? No, okay.
No.
Because that's a lot of things I get if people are against cannabis. They're like, well, I can just go get Marinol. Well, and then after I explain that Marinol's synthetic and just one cannabinoid, that's why it doesn't work, then people are like, oh, I get it now. Because one thing you cannot forget is it's the natural plant that makes the things work. Now, what I'm curious to know is if they can take out all the natural or take out all the cannabinoids, separate them, and then mix them back, but in a non-synthetic way. Yeah. With actually hash oils, like separate it, and oil A is THC, oil B, and then mix back in. Mm-hmm. That's going to be. I just think that if they can still work together after being stripped out and put back together, that's going to be.
Well, you think
ridiculous.
Theoretically, yeah, that's possible.
Right.
But the thing is, in the plant, there are so many different chemicals
right.
that have yet to be discovered. There's a process of discovery. We have to understand what's in the plant and then synthetically putting this together. But is that even necessary? When we have
right.
access to the plant itself.
Well, right. I'm just thinking that, of course, people want to make the most on their money, and there's no way that pharmaceutical companies could make money on this. There's no way. Right. There's just no way. Because growing it is very, very expensive. It's very hard. But yeah, I mean, I would love if we didn't go that route, which I hope we don't. Oh, there's actually two, Marinol and
Sativex, yeah.
Not Sativex. Sativex is actually natural. Sesamet, CESAMET, synthetic THC, both of those are widely available to cancer patients. So obviously, admitting that THC is good for cancer patients in the treatment of chemotherapy, Sativex is a natural cannabinoid mouth spray, and it is about 1 to 1.2, I think. 1 milligram of CBD to 1.2 THC or vice versa. So it's about a 1-to-1. As if people don't know, we have tested in flowers, I think 25-to-1 in flowers. then make that into oil, you can see it's just be incredible amounts of CBD. But so Sativex. But again, it's taken them how many years to come out with Sativex because they had to go through all the rigmarole, and now somebody's going to come out with something way better than Sativex. So is red tape, I know that all the red tape and the FDA and blah, 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 all that is to protect us, but sometimes I think it hurts us too. Because there are things that are fine and passed by the FDA, and then they find out it kills you. I mean, a lot of drugs. So I don't know. I don't even know what, how it's going to work for cannabis once it is federally legal. I'm not sure the FDA could handle the influx of all that. But I don't know. Maybe they'll make their own federal marijuana association or something like that. But there is no doubt that cannabis does the most amazing things. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And as soon as we are able, I really hope that somebody moves to Colorado, or that the big universities start picking up studies that are specific. We had on Dr. Sue Sisley last week, who talked about her PTSD study that it's on hold at U of A. I think that's number one, just for our poor soldiers that are coming back and, choosing to pop pills and booze because they can't deal with things. And this is life-changing for them. And the sad part is if the military finds out they're using marijuana, they could lose everything, all of their benefits and everything, when they come back and they're just completely distraught. It just makes me sick to my stomach. The interesting things, and I think that also the other studies that have to start automatically are the diseases that are very fast, like ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. It's very quick to death. And so I think that would be a huge thing for them to take this and start studying that. And who knows, maybe they come up with or we come up with products that have cannabis, but other things, maybe other herbs or maybe other molecules, or, how many things can we put together with cannabis? I mean, probably a lot, I'm thinking. What was the stereotypical thing that you saw when you came here? Like, tell the story about when you incorporated your company. This is funny.
Oh, well, I had another company that, this is before I really knew anything about cannabis or the industry, and it was actually on April 20th. I was in my attorney's office downtown, and I was looking out the window, and I saw this big group of people in front of the Capitol, and I didn't know what that was. And I said, "What's going on down there?" And she says, "It's 420 Day." And it was at that point, this is about 3-4 years ago, when I even discovered what that was.
Yep. Steve did not know what 420 was, and he's looking down at all these people smoking in front of the Capitol. He's like, "Wow, welcome to Colorado."
Well, what's funny about that, and going back to what I was talking about at the very beginning, is I think that the industry probably started out with a lot of people that used the product and then wanted to justify it, rightfully so. But then there's, I think, a lot more people coming around that are starting out on the other side of things, either not knowing anything about it or being against it, or both, like me, who are learning and then coming around. And there's certain things, there's certain issues with, the way people use it, or the culture and things like that I have, and that's okay, because I just take it for what it's worth. And I think there's a lot of people that are coming around and seeing it for what it is.
Right.
Whether they like the culture, or whether they like the different methods of how it's being used, whether they agree with dabbing and other things like that, they can understand the science and
right.
use it for what it is. You know what I mean?
But unfortunately, if people, start seeing the dabbing and stuff, I think it pulls the industry backwards. And I just wish that people could just, see that. It's, whatever. Maybe it's my generation gap, but I just think people, especially young people, are pushing the limits of cannabis because you can't die from it. So they're like, we can't die, so let's just, see how many edibles we can eat and see how many of this we can smoke and, all of that stuff. And it's disheartening, I think. But again, have I thrown up on alcohol? Yes, Would I ever take pills? I didn't know what they were. Absolutely not. And I can't believe young people are doing that. That's just insane to me. They're called fishbowl parties. You don't know that? Fishbowl parties. People come and they either steal pills from their parents or they have pills. They dump them in a fishbowl and then you pick it out and just go ahead and take it, which is retarded. People...
Kind of like a starfish party?
Is that what is a starfish party?
Sex party, yeah.
Oh, no.
Well, what's funny about this is that on our website we have a picture of a spoonful of pills, and we say you wouldn't. Yeah, you have it up there. So you wouldn't just take a spoonful of pills without knowing what's in it, would you? Assuming people wouldn't do that, but now they're doing that. So.
Right. Outside of high school, we should maybe put. Yeah. No. Yeah. It's just crazy, but I think that we all that are in the industry have, kind of a higher call to duty, and that is to spread the word of education and how, because I say this all the time, your family member, your coworker, somebody is going to get one of these diseases that cannabis helps. And so I just want you to have it in your toolbox to offer it up if, something happens. My girlfriend, very good girlfriend, her husband's mother had cancer. I think ovarian cancer. I'm not sure, but I told her that I would get her some, or I kind of made suggestions like tincture and stuff like that. And she is eating, she's not sick from chemo. She can't believe it. She cannot believe it because obviously she grew up and taught her sons that don't smoke pot and cannabis is bad, and now it's helping her out, and that's what's going to happen. That is what's going to happen. And so just make sure that you understand the facts, and if you don't know the facts, then call an expert and have them go over it with you. But it can help almost everything, it seems. What, now, Steve, you're still in the closet a bit, aren't you? Well, would you say?
I don't know.
From family? About cannabis. From a family and stuff like that. It's not a conversation.
A lot of them know about it. Yeah.
Right.
And I think when... my family knows, and it's okay because they understand, I think, what I'm doing and, the value that I'm bringing. Marijuana is a plant, and it's something that's going to exist and people are going to consume. And what we do is we don't manufacture and distribute anything. What we do is we test. We do analytical testing, and we tell people what's in it. We tell people... if it's clean or dirty, on the health and safety side of things, and that's what it is. We're a science company. We could be testing samples of anything, and I think this is an important thing to be testing because I think people's health and safety is at risk, and potentially people's lives, depending on how bad it gets and how
Absolutely.
susceptible somebody is.
Absolutely. And again, we preach the good word of cannabis and that it can't kill people, but the last thing we want is contaminated cannabis to start killing people, and that could happen. So anyway, well, Steve, thank you so much for coming on, and we'll have to have a recap.
Thanks,
back
Jennifer.
Maybe. Steve's a tough guy. Anyway, so thank you for listening to In the Lab with Jennifer, and we'll be back next week.